Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the main stage here at DesignerCon 2022. My name is Mark Brickey from Adventures in Design Podcast. I'm joined today with the London Police, both Chaz and Bob.
Morning.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Not only welcome to DesignerCon, but welcome to America, my friends.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Good to see so many of you lovely people out there today.
One of the things that I have found fascinating about your artwork as somebody that's been following you for a while is we live in a time of a lot of people are tremendous vector art artists, right? You go into Illustrator and there's perfect circles everywhere. It doesn't work on the side of a wall. And I love how you guys put perfect geometric shapes in your artwork. Chaz, I know that's your part of the relationship here. And I'm so curious, like, how did you decide to make life so hard on yourself by choosing perfectly drawn and illustrated circles, a thing that you do not only on canvas, but 2 stories on the side of a building? You couldn't have picked a harder shape to embrace, my friend.
Yeah, well, they talk about sacred geometry. They talk about, shapes that make you happy to look at. And I think if we all think about the circle, everything from the sun, the moon, your mother's eyes the minute you come into this world. Circles are just the greatest shape. It never ends. And when I first started drawing the character, it was in a small, primitive form. But as time went past, it was very much about how can I make this tighter? How can I make this cleaner? Tight, hard, iconic shapes. So that's where the evolution of the circle came to getting it to be a perfect circle. And the shapes being very perfect, and the shoes. To do it on the walls, when we do big murals, you simply find a center point and you use string and you kind of do that like a compass point. But it's so pleasing to see it when it's clean that once you go there, you can't go back, if that makes sense.
It just goes to show that a lot of people don't understand how complicated art is. And they would think that, oh, this guy does 3-story portraits. That must be incredibly hard. But as an illustrator, I know doing the perfect circle in geometry is actually insanely hard at scale to get everything. And I know when you look up close, it can be a little bit bumpy or whatnot. But I just thought that is such a unique thing to really embrace because it's cleverly difficult. And only few people that look at it will understand just how difficult that is.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, because of the simplicity, I don't think people realize how hard it is to do. But like anything, once you've done it several times again and again and again, you get good at anything in life once you practice. So now it doesn't seem so difficult because we have all the methods of how to do it. But you're right, at the beginning, yeah, it looks impressive. I would hope it looks impressive. So.
Well, it's also the amount of the line work too, that it's so thick and so dominant, and that your all's work, it's a pastel color plus white, and then black is the difference maker that pushes the 2 planes apart from one another. And I just love it. Once again, you guys are well-known street artists throughout the world. It's a space where people just, stack colors on top of colors on top of colors. You guys are 3 colors and out, and 2 of them are white and black, which technically aren't colors. Yeah. So I really love just the overall restraint in your work in a space that is normally pretty loud and pretty complicated.
Yeah, we probably worked for about 6 years together, only doing black and white. Mm-hmm. At some point, we sort of said, oh, maybe we should introduce a bit of color. But I think we did several shows like just black and white, and that's really good to limit yourself, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
If you say, you're only going to use a marker pen, we're only going to use black on white paint, and that limitation, I think that's really healthy because suddenly you have to be creative within that restriction.
100%.
So I think that's really worked well for us. At a certain point, we said, oh, now I think it's now time to go into color. But yeah, I think it's good to limit yourself in art in that way.
You're so right because, when I started out as a graphic designer and it was in Photoshop, you have that color wheel and there's all those colors. But then when I got into doing screen printing and you were limited to 3 colors because you didn't want to print 4 or 5, it taught me a design within restraint. And now, even if I don't screen print something, I still use those design principles because that's where great design comes from that constraint. Yeah. And I love that you guys, when you decided to add color, you went with pastels. so that it wouldn't
right.
pull against that white black. The white
Yeah,
black still
the black
pops.
the black has to stand out. The minute you start using dark purples, dark blues, stuff like that, it does take away. So it is everything on the lighter side. But what you were saying a minute ago about the black and white was very interesting, because we've got our booth just over yonder, and we've been selling these glitchy prints the last few days, and the first one to sell out was the most simple black and white one. So you can see that a lot of people, even subconsciously, when you look at a simple image, it's easier to deal with, and it may be more pleasing than an image that is full of color and full of little things. And you see what I mean? So it is the simplicity that is pleasing, I think.
The thing that I find interesting about black and white in real life, in the real world, buying a print off of your table, it pops out to you. But I've noticed that black and white, solid black and white artwork online gets less interaction because it doesn't stand out as much next to the interface. And I have really noticed that artists that do a lot of color, if they dip over into black and white, it is a massive decrease in interaction because it's a black and white space, and it's hard to figure out where the parameters for the artwork is. And in all that noise, it's easy just to pass it by. However, in the real world, black and white actually sucks all the light in the room around it, and it is the most powerful thing. So it's one of those things that just doesn't transfer over in the digital space.
Yeah. Before we even really did canvases, we started doing T-shirts when I first did the character, and we recognized that black and white on any color always worked, and that's where the original thought came from. Is, oh yeah, black and white works on yellow, on red, on green, everything. And then later on, we translated that into the canvases, as you said. So we'd always had that experience that black-white works on almost any color.
So I'm always fascinated by art teams, two brains coming together for one vision. Bob, you do the more intense illustration, the portraits and the cityscapes, which I love the cityscapes. Like, you still keep that geometry, but you add in the different perspectives. Where do we start? Do we start with the portrait and then Chaz goes over the top? Do we start with the geometry and you build in the background? I guess what I'm asking, who's the lead guitar player and who's the rhythm guitar player?
I'm obviously the leader, of course, but I'll let Bob answer that question.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think we're two very different individuals. We've been friends for 25 years.
Wow.
So in that time, we've kind of morphed into this way of working where it started off with just Chaz's character in the beginning. We both drew his character on the streets of Amsterdam. And what happened was, I think I got a little bit, because it was Chaz's creation, I hadn't yet formed my own style of drawing. And when we started collaborating together through the years, I started trying to, like you just said, make a place for his character to live in. When we were drawing him on the streets, the characters, the lads' characters, they live in the streetscape in the city. But when you translate it into an artwork on canvas or on the side of a building, perhaps, adding that context, that was a slow evolution. It started with a little detail of a cityscape behind the character to give it scale. You could mess around with that. You could make the character as big as a building, and put little human figures at the base of its feet. So it was always playing with the size and scale of that character, and Chaz's character, the lad, could live, I could make it live in the past, I could make it live in the future, I could make it as tall as a building or as small as an atom. So there's always, I don't know really what came first, but it was always just playing with it. I loved doing portraits of people, but that came a lot later.
It's interesting because I was introduced to you all through the lad character as the toy form. And then when I started to see the cityscapes and the portraits, I was like, were they always doing this? And I didn't know that because I was introduced to you through the toy, which obviously doing the character in toy makes sense versus, your portion of it. But as I saw the evolution, what I really enjoyed is that you're obviously a fantastic illustrator, but you are drawing, as far as I read it, you're drawing portraits and landscapes in a way that complements Chaz.
Yeah.
Because it's not a traditional way of doing either one of those things. There's a very nice symmetry between the two parts of the brain that makes one cohesive piece.
Yeah, I like the contrast.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're very different individuals, and you can see that in the drawing style. So the line thickness of Chaz's character is so thick, it's so exaggerated that I like to play with going completely the opposite of making it really, really small line against his big line. So yeah, I like that play. And I think individually, Chaz's work on his own is bold and striking, and my work on my own is, you could call it interesting and intricate, but the clash when you put them together, that's what works, I think.
And I would add to that the evolution. I mean, Bob stopped working with me in about 2004, and for about 5 years, I just went around the world on my own, basically using that character as my, recognition.
Like a tag.
Yeah, exactly. And I always just do color backgrounds. I had I can't draw anything else, but I can't draw things that exist. I can only draw things that don't exist. I'm not very good with rules.
I love
that. Yeah. So when Bob came back into London Police in 2009, it was literally, okay, I'll draw a bunch of my characters and you make the worlds. And that's how it started and went on for a few years in the black and white. But as we've gone on, Bob now draws his characters as well. He's got new characters. So the start point for any painting is, right, who's the main character? What do we build around him? And then I can do some background now. I can do the colors on my little characters behind his character. So it's been a really healthy and enjoyable evolution that's never been forced. It's just been building and growing. So you go from the very simple stuff that we started with to the more complicated things you see today.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it might start where Bob does the hero image of David Bowie.
There you
But
go.
then you are adding in the emotion of David Bowie through the lads and the different action and synergy that circles around him.
Yeah, exactly.
Who does all the fine flourishes that kind of connect the two worlds together? Because that's another thing that I love about your artwork are those, just the little flourishes that kind of exist in between the two spaces.
Yeah, that all came. I was interested in graffiti. I just wasn't very good at it, so that's why I kind of ended up doing something else. Bob didn't really have that in his locker. He was more illustration, and he liked architecture and stuff like that, sculpture. So I like to, because drawing the characters is so, it's so straight and it's so regimented. For me, when I can do the backgrounds, that's my chance to throw paint on and do little drawings and little throw-ups in there. And then if I don't like it, you just cover it again. And there's more and more layers. So the backgrounds start with lots of layers and flourishes. Then we put where the characters are going to be. Then we fill them in, and then the black comes in at the end, and you have your finished product like that. So he's got all the drawing skills, but then I'm quite good with colors. So he lets me do that at least.
I just love hearing the process of it because, I just think that your average person that would walk by would look at it and be like, oh, they wouldn't think about how much intricate planning goes into bringing all of those pieces together.
Yeah, most people think it's done on the computer when they first look at it.
Exactly.
And it's weird because that's our kind of ambition, that's our drive. Oh, can we make it look as perfect as possible that it's almost done by a computer? And that almost works against us because people are like, yeah, so what? You did it on a computer. But everything you see is hand-drawn from beginning to end, and then it gets put through a program so we can print it or something. But everything's hand-drawn, and we're very proud about our craftsmanship because you might not like our style of work because it's particular, but we hope you appreciate the craftsmanship because we believe it's top-notch and we're still trying to get better and better.
Oh, I have so much appreciation for the craftsmanship that goes into what you're doing. And I was excited about this interview because I love taking things that people might not understand how complicated it is and showing the architecture that builds this thing that on a glance could be like, oh, it's circles, that's cute. But it's so difficult in the way that you guys work together. A benefit of having two-man shop is that what we do on the canvas or on the street or online, that's half of the job. There's also managing the business in the back end. What's the division of labor between you two guys on the part of the business that we don't see? What are your roles in the business aspect of it?
Yeah, he writes the invoices, that's for sure. Yeah, no, we do. We have different skill sets.
Yeah.
There's things that I'm absolutely useless at, a lot of things, but luckily Bob's good at them. So we fill in for each other, but he's not very good at going out and meeting people. He's socially devoid of skills with people.
We have a saying, is work like Bob, party like Chaz. And that's actually really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to stick with what you're good at and what you know. And I think in Chaz is the extrovert that knows everyone in the room. I'm the guy who goes home early and goes jogging in the morning. We're so different. We're so different. But I think that's why it works so well. So we can, stick to what you know.
If it was the other way around, we'd be so unsuccessful, it would be unbelievable. You know, it'd be like a social nightmare with him, and no work would get done at all.
I just always love when I get the chance to interview, duos of just how the two pieces come together. And as somebody who's always rolled solo, I'm incredibly envious of it because it just looks so fun to have a bud to always be in the trenches.
Well,
with.
it is fun. That's the whole
Truly
point.
based on friendship as well. I mean, the bottom line is we've managed to still get on, even though we've become different people. With the base element that we liked doing what we did. We always said we're going to take on the world and we're going to enjoy it all the way. And if we didn't have the friendship, you just couldn't work together. We're stuck in rooms together. We're stuck in lifts together.
Yeah.
We end up singing songs just to get ourselves.
You guys sing songs around the shop?
Oh, we got tons of. We're actually thinking of giving up the art world and just singing songs about dogs. Really, I'm serious.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, just singing songs about dogs and taking that to the next level. I mean, we can drop one on for you if you like.
I would love to hear one.
Yeah, it's a good job the kids are leaving because there's swearing in this song. So everyone be careful. This is a little song called Dog in the Sun.
What key are you going to sing it in?
I'm going to start in the key of F.
Oh, how's that go? Yeah.
There's a dog in the sun.
Okay.
There's a dog in the sun, boom, 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 he's got a massive face, boom, boom. Dog in the sun, boom, boom, he's got a massive face, boom, dog in the sun with a fucking massive face, boom, boom, boom. Dog in the sun with a fucking massive face, boom. There's a dog in the rain, boom, boom, he's got a massive face, boom, boom. Dog in the rain, boom, boom, he's got a massive face, boom, dog in the rain with a fucking massive face, boom, boom, dog in the rain with a fucking massive face, boom. For example.
Yes.
Oh, stop it, really, thank you.
We've got another 40 songs, so let's take it easy with the clapping, huh? You'll only encourage us.
What I love about that song, as an artist that's worked with others throughout my career, I know that it's 3 a.m., you're packing for a 6 a.m. flight, you're in the studio trying to get shit done as fast as possible, and you start singing a stupid song like that just takes all the suck out of the room, and what you're doing is horrible, you don't want to be there and doing it, but singing together with your friend like that, we're in the trenches together. We're making a shitty situation fun. I love stuff like that.
Every trip we go on, if we're doing a mural together, within a day or two, Chaz would have written a new song about the place we're at, or the dog he's seen, or the. It's crazy, and it is like that. It's like when you see the soldiers out there and they're marching and they have their song. It makes the day pass quicker. But it's a peculiar thing, but it works for us.
Screen printing is just hours of doing the same thing over and over again, and just the roads that me and my print assistant would go down, and I know that moment of hey, we're on this wall, we're on the lift, we're doing this for hours, and you start making up goofy songs. It's the camaraderie of it, right, that makes it so fun. I'm curious about the studio name. Has that been a difficult thing because of the internet age that we're in, that you guys are named the London Police, but there's also another organization known as the London Police? Has that been a difficult thing, having a name like that?
Well, it's an interesting thing, really, because in London, the police are not called the London Police. Like you'd have, the LA Police or this police.
Right.
They're called the Metropolitan Police. I have no idea why. They're called the Met. So the London Police actually doesn't exist.
Really?
That's why we took it. But it's so weird because on our Instagram, quite regularly, people will write to us like some guy from Pakistan or something saying, hey, there's a man in this house in London who's been frauding me, and this is his number, and he's killed 7 people. And you sort of just gingerly write back, actually, we're an art crew, not the real London Police, but we'll pass the information on. But literally, once a week, someone writes to us thinking we're the actual police.
Yeah, I was just curious about that because I was like, I wonder if people have a hard time finding them because of the name that you guys chose, and we live in such a SEO-driven world, and I didn't know if that ended anything, but I love that people somehow mistake you, and you wonder, how good is that guy's research?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't look at anything. It's quite obvious we're not the police. We had this one guy once, and it was just like, hello, I am from Taiwan. They are going to kill me in 3 days. I need help. And I looked at the date, and it was like 4 days ago, and I was like, oh, God, that guy's over anyway by now. Like, even if I wanted to help, I can't help.
So you guys are you aware of the movie Freaky Friday, you know, where
Possibly.
the daughter doesn't want to go to school, but the mom's like, fuck, I'd love to go to school, I hate this job. And the daughter's like, oh man, the mom looks so sick, she gets to drive a car, she has money, and somehow something happens through science and magic that they switch. And the daughter's the executive for the day, and the mom is in school for the day. Have you guys ever thought about doing a Freaky Friday where you draw circles and you do a portrait and you swap out roles for the day?
Same answer as before. It'll be a disaster.
It'll be a disaster, yeah. I could draw his stuff really well,
Yeah,
but
that's
he
true.
he hasn't got the skills to get anywhere near me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah. It's true.
sorry.
So
but
it-
you can write songs about dogs, and I
It's-
can't. so.
It's sad, but it's true.
So Bob, with the portraits that you do, they're done in an unconventional way, where it seems to me that you've really tried to find a way to match the two together. Did you always draw portraits that way? Did you always draw individuals that way? Or is that something that you crafted for the merger between the two styles?
Yeah, so when I used to draw the architecture before behind Chaz's characters, that was always kind of a horizontal or a vertical shading, and that's all I could do with the pen we were using, because I basically took the tools Chaz was drawing his characters with the marker pens, and then I tried to draw something using the same pens, but drawing the architecture. And then when I started doing the portraiture, I used the same technique of shading in the portraits,
Yeah.
so they had to match the same drawing style. So I sort of subconsciously, there's actually a filter in Photoshop called halftone that does something similar, but I just developed that through just looking at the thing I was drawing and saying, oh, how can I make something resemble someone using the tools I have? So it was
And he really can draw anything. He's so meticulous. We call him Rain Man, but that's not about the drawing. It's more about his lack of social skills again. But it's really amazing. I've been working with Bob now for 25 years. I've never seen him not get it right.
I just was looking at the portraits, and they're done so well that you can tell that there's a skilled illustrator there, but it's such a signature and different way of doing it, that you're taking the organic form of the human face and making it more geometric.
Yeah, and the lines, the horizontal lines, and against my circle, and that. So the marriage of what we do together, it really works, and we're both proud of what we do. And he does stuff on his own sometimes, and I do stuff on my own. But we both enjoy working together because we think it's better, basically.
I mean, it's an amazing body of work, and it looks like you guys are having fun, and watching the evolution has been great. There's a thing that me and my crew like to talk about when we travel. It's called out-of-market snacks. You know, you when you're on a road trip and you go into the gas station, whatever, you're like, what do they sell here that they don't sell back home? So I'm curious, when you land in America, what's your first go-to snack that you can't get back home in Amsterdam?
Well, California, In-N-Out.
Yeah?
For sure, In-N-Out, straight down the In-N-Out burger.
Do you go animal style, or you just go off the menu?
I go in. I don't like onions on my burger, so give me the number 2, no onions. I'll have the fries.
Do you get I don't know if you know this, but you can get the fries well done, and they like fry them extra hard, and they're like crispy potato sticks.
I like the way you're talking.
And I got another pro tip for you, too.
You getting me the ins on In-N-Out. I like that.
A friend of mine just moved to California. I'm like, this is the thing you don't know about In-N-Out. If you're the one that goes and gets it for your family, you need a car item, right? Because you got all this food in the car, French fries fall all over your car, and the burger's too sloppy to eat and drive. Like, you can rip a McDonald's burger while you're driving, but not an In-N-Out. So like, what you do is you get a grilled cheese. And the grilled cheese is the driving item. So then when you get home, you've already broken that little bit of first wave of hunger, so you don't come in all panicked out.
It's pretty obvious to me now that after this, we're going to need to iron out our problems with in and out. You've got to sharpen us up.
What about you, Bob? You look like a guy that takes care of himself. How hard do we go with snacks when we come to the States?
Sushi. I'm a sushi guy.
Yeah?
I do that. They do it very well here, don't they? Yeah.
Like, give me what's your, when you see a sushi menu, what do you see? Like, oh, that pops. What are you looking for?
It's got to be the dragon roll, isn't it?
Yeah?
The dragon roll with some spicy tuna in there. Yeah.
Are you a wasabi guy?
Yes.
I go so hard.
Hard on that, yeah.
I love it
hard
so
on that
much.
Shit, yeah.
Brings out everything.
Yep.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And before we part ways, maybe sing a song about a bitch.
A dog. Dog song.
Yeah, we can sing a dog song. We can either do Snow Dogs in Scotland, or we can do Dogs of Spain.
Dogs of Spain.
Oh, look at this.
Okay.
Explain the context.
The Dogs of Spain is when if anyone's ever been to Spain, you'll see that all the dogs are small. No one seems to have a big dog at all. And again, this was my observation, so I wrote the song The Dogs of Spain, which is meaningful to that point that I just made, but also has a very operatic finish, which is almost bad and scary. So should we stand for this?
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
How do you start? What tone? Spain, Spain.
In Spain there are a large amount of tiny dogs that I can count. There isn't any medals and there isn't any prizes, but those little Spanish dogs, they come in little Spanish sizes. The dogs of Spain, the dogs of Spain. The dogs of Spain. Yes!
Thank you.
Our booth is over there. You're all welcome to come and join us, and we'll just sing them until you're absolutely sick to hear them.
2, 4, 3, 4.
2, 4, 3, 4.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for making time to come and see us. We appreciate it.
Ladies and
you.
gentlemen, the
Thank you,
London
Mark.
Police, Chaz and
Thank
Bob.
you. Thank you very much.